Surfactant. No.
You guys ready to go? Yeah. Okay. Just so you know, there's a little iPad back here, there's one here. All right, whenever you guys are ready, go ahead. Oh, and sorry, one thing. The rest of you guys, we talked about this, but afterward, they'll have about 10 minutes, give or take, to present. And then there'll be time, like at least 25, 30 minutes of questions and stuff coming from the rest of us. And you guys, as a class, need to be asking at least one question, either in one of the two presentations that you guys will be seeing. One, you guys will be giving a presentation, right? So make sure that you guys are paying attention, you're being critical, you are thinking about maybe advice or directions that they could go, or mistakes that they made, or how things were hard, or so forth. Okay? All right, go for it.
So our company's name is Four, and we developed, it's named, well, maybe we should go with the slides first. Okay. Our company's name is Four, and we promise to deliver the purest and simplest product. Our soap is made with natural ingredients, which are both ideal for child-sensitive skin and don't contain any chemicals harsh enough to harm the environment, or ideally affect the environment. We developed our brand Four because, and we named it Four because it's made with 4 simple ingredients for families. There's our packaging, and as you can see, the ingredients are clearly labeled on our packaging because we really want to emphasize the fact that it's made with like supernatural and like very minimal ingredients.
Okay, so with the shape, we used this shape. We thought the shape was easy to hold, very ergonomic, comfortable. Please.
So the pictures we tried to take from were just anything that was like natural or that kids would gravitate towards, like the kind of like baby toy. We thought that the soap kind of represented that, and so we just kind of used these pictures to kind of spark the soap making process.
And we, from using our visual library, we determined that in the middle you can see that picture of the earth. We decided that earthy green and blue were perfect for our label, which we incorporated in the heart.
So we found it was pretty hard to stand out in the soap market. So to stand out and set ourselves aside from the competition, we specifically targeted a group which is environmentally conscious mothers with toddlers. And so to make sure what our targeted group wanted, we conducted extensive interviews and we got feedback on our product. So for example, on the first time we conducted interviews, we found that our soap was too slimy, and this was because we used 50% shea and 50% coconut butter. Then we redefined our product, and we made it to 80% shea and 20% cocoa butter. And 80% coconut butter and 20% shea. So this, conducting these interviews really helped us redefine our product. We also we shaped it sort of like a weight, so mothers would think it's cute for their child, and we also made it easy for a child to hold. So.
Okay, so our competitors are Dr. Bronner's, which is sold online for $6.69. They claim to be sustainable and child-friendly, but they use 8 ingredients, which is twice as much as we use, and it's also slightly more expensive. I think it's like $4.99 And they say that it's suitable for washing your baby and also dishes, so how safe for your baby can it really be? And also a Beano Baby, which is sold at Target for $6.99, and it has 13 ingredients, and most of which are impossible to pronounce, and definitely not all natural. So would you really want to wash your baby with those harsh chemicals? No, buy our soap.
Okay, so we wanted to really make a unique product because we knew that many of other companies have made soap before. So the first thing we decided to do was change the shape, because how many times you see just a rectangular bar of soap? I mean, maybe the edges are a little bit rounded. So we thought maybe having it easier to hold would be better, because you guys want to hold it up. This way, if you're having like a little kid, they can just grab on in the middle, and you can use the top end, bottom end, like, so it's very user-friendly for both mothers, family members, and children. So that was our big selling point. And then this is our original prototype where we 3D printed it. And we have our soap that we have, like the proportions and everything to make the bar. And Max will talk about them all. But we had to figure out the actual like ingredients for our soap, made the soap, and then we just didn't have enough time to actually get it to go through the mold. And then we tested out different scents because we wanted to make sure that the scents weren't like overpowering to make it not seem natural. So we wanted to keep it very like subtle. So this is why we did another survey like Patrick was talking about. We tried lavender, cedar, and saffron, just seeing how it was naturally. So that is this area, and then just testing the different ratios between scent, soap, and the coconut oil and shea butter all together.
So for the financials, so we're going to sell our soap for $4.99, and the costs associated with making 1 bar of soap, so just the stuff that we need to put in the soap and also to fill the box, is $4.42. So as you can tell by this, I'm not sure if you can tell by this beautiful graph over here, it's it'll take us, we will have to sell 368 bars of soap in order to start making a profit, because our fixed costs are $209.51. And this is all the blenders and things we need to use to make the soap. And so if we, I figured that we could do this within 8 weeks if we, because these fixed costs only counts for enough umu, which is the stuff that they made that mold out of, to make 10 molds like that. And so we can make 10 bars of soap at a time. And well, once we get more money, we can start making more molds and we can make bigger batches of soap. But if we were doing that and we made like 5 batches of soap a week at 10 bars of soap a piece, then we could have this, like all the soap produced that we need to break even within 8 weeks. So, yeah. That's basically
Okay, as you can see, our product is not perfect yet. It's not 100% done. But in the future, we look to develop a more even shape of soap. We are looking at widening the middle so that it won't wear down as quickly and it can last a little longer. We also look to, in the future, expand our product variety and create a line of lotion and a bottle of soap with natural scents and natural ingredients for children.
So one thing I was just going to talk about the future of the soap design was that, so the idea behind the shape was influenced by just kind of the idea of our soap in general, which is kind of a natural feel. So if you look at the shape, it actually is supposed to seem somewhat like your hand. So it's designed entirely to fit within your hand. So when we improve the soap design, not only will we make it thicker, but we will work to improve the way it kind of fits with people's hands. Because one of the main things we got with our feedback was that perhaps it was a little too small. So just kind of making it a little bit larger and a little bit more shaped to a person's hand is kind of the idea we're going with this natural sort of outlook on our soap design.
Any questions?
So, what's your reasoning for all being in blue?
broken up into 4 different parts to go with the 4-4-4 thing, and it's green and blue. So we decided that blue is kind of a natural, good color to market it in.
So, really quickly, I'm just gonna hand this around if you guys wanna check out the mold. It's fun to play with, and you can kinda check out her shape. And we will also be passing around the soap bar so you can kinda see, or the plastic piece that will become a soap bar. So you can see how it feels.
Martin, should we pass them around?
Roman.
How long does it take?
And the packaging as well. Okay. Okay, so this is our actual soap consistency, but just not the right scent or shape, but this is what it would be made of. And this is our package. Awesome. And this is the soap that we're going to use. Don't spill it, but you can spill it. Oh, never mind. Apparently not. Dangerous. Okay.
Just a question about the shape. So if you're using it, you want the middle wear down really quickly and then it'll break.
I can say
Yes,
something
which
about
is
that.
why we're thickening it in the future.
When we did tests, we found a lot of the time, people would, if you hold it, you'll see that people will actually use the edges and they'll put, when they actually use it to wash themselves in general, they felt like it was a much more natural shape to put their fingers on either end, and kind of push it against themselves. So that's something we were initially worried about, and we would, if we were to improve it, we would kind of make the middle bit larger, but still kind of scale it correctly to someone's hand. But it's not as much of an issue as we initially thought, because we tested that stuff.
Yeah.
Roman.
Tell me more about this Umu mold. Okay, so Max and I made that. So Umu, okay, none of you guys did soap. So Umu is a casting material. It's 2 parts of liquid. To make a 2-part mold, it allows you to have a curved surface for both the top and bottom of the mold. So what you do is you put your mold in a box, cardboard box, whatever it is, fill it halfway up with clay, and then pour it into Umu. You let it dry. You take it out, so you have half of it cast in the Umu. You flip it over, put it back in the box, and pour the other half of the Umu in. I'm just giving you that.
And it allows us to have a more natural shape in general, so that's why we did that. Molly?
Are there any chemicals in the Umu that transfers on to your natural soap?
No, actually pretty much nothing sticks to the Umu itself, actually.
Tape
Like,
doesn't,
we
nothing.
Yeah, we used tape to try to hold it together, and we didn't actually stick the tape to the Umu itself because it would literally come right off the Umu. We had to wrap the tape around and stick it to itself in order to even attempt to close the mold, just because it just.
Yeah, and another comment with the chemicals is one might notice on our packaging, one of the ingredients is NaOH, and that might not seem supernatural or sustainable, but after a lot of research, the amount we're using, the very small amount we're using in the soap, cannot make any, will not harm the environment or make an effect or anything, because it's pretty light, diluted, yeah.
Peter.
You had a kind of a claim in there that I think something about all mothers universally liking the shape, and then when I was looking at the scent the results from going out and asking what people like, I saw 2 on one of the things. I was just wondering what your sample sizes were. It seems like saying that everybody likes something is quite a bit of a claim, and I was also curious how many people you were able to get to give you feedback, and if all those people were within your target market.
Patrick, do you like about the interview?
We didn't necessarily do specific scents. I think that was Lila, but we conducted about 15 people interview, and we showed around the soap, asked if people liked the smell, and most people enjoyed it. Some people, like, of course not everyone likes every scent, but a lot of people enjoyed our scent, and some things they said we could get a more muted scent or like a more stronger scent. So we kind of averaged out the results.
And for our first prototype, the wick was a little too thin, and we actually got that feedback and refined our prototype for the second one to make it a little thicker so that the soap would last longer.
So following up with that same question in there, your survey, the folks that you surveyed, they were all within your market, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and did you guys see those same people multiple times? Did you go back to those same people with
Well, we
We
originally
went back
did.
to like at least 3 of the same people.
Okay. Now, one thing that you guys talked about, that we all talked about, was kind of establishing a like personal connection with our market, right? Did you guys find that there were like, certain people that were more helpful that you actually tried to tailor your product to?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, can you speak a little more of who those people were and what they're?
Well, one would be, I have a stepsister who has toddlers, and we kind of talked with her a lot, and we kind of came to the conclusion that soap is used amongst the family, so we realized then that we need to make our market for families, so that's one thing that we used. We used specific interview results to fix our market and fix our branding and stuff.
Yeah, and another person we used more than once was my cousin who has a 4-year-old, and he's a single parent, and he definitely said that he uses the same bar of soap as his kid, and that he liked the idea of having one for both.
What kind of markets are your soap be sold in?
We were
aiming to do places like Madison Market or more kind of earthier, health-conscious places, because then it would appeal to the people who shopped in the first place, looking for like healthy, like organic, different things, and we thought that would give it the best chance.
So to follow up on that though would be, what is your total production ability? Like how many units do you think you can produce in a certain amount of time? Because if you're going to sell it in a place like Madison Market or some of the more boutique shops, you still have to meet a certain quota. Like you have to be able to give them a box of stuff however often when they need it.
As of right now, we can produce 10 bars of soap a day, because it takes about a day for them to set into, it takes about a day for them to set into like hard soap, and then we have 10 molds.
Once
Right
it's hardened
now.
in the mold, you can take it out and let it dry a little bit more, so.
So what did I think you guys said a number at some point, like how many you thought you could produce?
We can, in order to break even, it's like 300.
368.
Yeah.
368, how often?
Every 8 weeks.
In order to break even for that,
Just to cover
that's just
the
for all of our
initial
basic,
startup costs.
like, our blender, our hot plates, to cover all that, and once we get that, then we'll start to make, I think it's like a 57-cent, 57-cent profit on each bar of soap we make, and then with that money, we can, like, buy more, we move to make more molds, so after the initial, like, 400-ish, we'll be able to start, making more molds and upping our supply, but right now it'd be like, if we were doing this every day, we could probably do like 70 a week, so.
Because it seems to me like you're more on the scale of selling at, like, you set up a table outside of a grocery store. Or maybe you get to a market, or I'm just saying, it's a smaller scale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exponential though,
We
and
might have to start out like that,
Skip.
and then just like, once we can get enough money to actually like finance us making more molds. and
So projecting forward, you'd like to be in a place like Madison Market or something
Yes.
like that. But starting out, you're,
farmer's market.
It is more like our
Yeah.
concept is very parallel to a lot of soaps which are sold at Madison Market, not necessarily like realistic.
got it. Did you guys make any projections further out than just like paying for those initial fixed costs of blenders and stuff?
What do you mean?
Like, 'cause you said that your initial startup was like $210,
Yeah.
which is pretty darn small for a start. I can give you $210, right? Like, that's, if I think you're gonna make me money, I'll give you $210.
Yeah.
But I wanna know that you're gonna be able to give me more than that back. Like, how, did you project further at all into the future? Be like, hey, if our company grows in 3 years, this is kind of where we'd like to be and what we financially can project for our future. Did you guys look into that?
Not that much, but just the whole like once we can get more, the main issue is not like blenders and hot plates, because those are just sort of like things that we use for a lot of several ones, and we just keep making the same thing. The main issue is the molds. So if we were to, like a year out, if we're doing this 5 days a week, we could profit in a little under 8 weeks. We'd start making a profit, and then we can just build up the funds from that, and maybe in like a year buy a bunch more molds, or find a more efficient way to use the Umu for molds or something, and then just like slowly start building up to like a bigger stand, and then like maybe.
Also, if we really wanted to make money, or like more money, by comparing to our compared to our competitors, we're selling our soap for almost $2 less, so we can raise our price margin as well. And
What is your profit margin on one
57
It's
cents
50 cents.
for each bar?
Yeah, so we have some room to raise
What
that.
is your price point again? I forget.
$4.99.
Okay.
So, let's touch upon your production capacity. Where, I don't know if this was answered, but where exactly would you be producing these? Do you have a facility you have in mind?
The thing is, it could just be produced in a house, it doesn't take this much space to do it. Actually, you only need like a table that can fit a couple of salt flakes in a blender.
You basically need like 4 power outlets and a table.
And it's very safe because we're not using any like dangerous chemicals, really, so it's just, it's something we can easily set up, and it's not that big of a thing, so we could set it up in a garage, and set it up just with like a, few extra power strips and go outside. It's like, we could literally do it anywhere.
And also because we're not using lard for this soap, we're using vegetable fats. It doesn't smell bad, so we can do it in the house.
So how did you guys decide what price it was gonna be?
Well, as far as, we wanted to be less than the other soaps that were in there because, we're sort of a new soap they might not try out unless it's like, they have an incentive to. They're like, oh, hey, look at this new soap and it's kind of cheaper than these other ones, so we went for that. But we still wanted to make like enough of a profit that we wouldn't be having an issue if we need to like replace a blender or something, so we sort of figured like 50-cent-ish profit would be good, and then $4.99 because if you add 99 to the things, it doesn't look as much as $5.
So you said that the candle made up was about so it was $4.29. I'm not sure if that just includes the materials, or does that also include the amount of electricity and labor in order to make up that cost?
Yeah, it's like $4.50, and it's it includes the labor. As far as I actually think I neglected to include electricity in that. But it does include the labor and the soap and the materials to make the box. So it's like everything except for just.
But that just means to be making less profit. Because if you have not counted electricity, which
Although
can become very
it doesn't use too much electricity, you heat it up for like 5 minutes and then you pour it in. I mean, you're not like heating it 24 hours a day.
Yeah, you heat it up for 5 minutes, you blend it for 2 minutes, and that's all the electricity uses.
So this question might be a little bit obnoxious, but I'm just thinking in terms of what you said your competitors were. So you noted Dr. Bronner's and the Aveeno soap. You also said in the future you might move into lotions, but
Yes.
in some ways it seems like you're comparing apples to oranges, right? If there's a target audience that's already using liquid soap and you're offering a different product, right? That's a bar soap. I wonder if you gave any thought to, and I realize this might be beyond the parameters of the project and you guys had to make bar soap, but if you gave any thought to producing liquid soap, and both from the standpoint of competing directly with those people, but also from the standpoint of the fact that it's going to be cheaper to do, right? So you're removing molds from the equation, you're removing other things, and you're adding water to dilute your product effectively, right? So people are going to go through it more quickly. If they like it, they might buy more frequently. Did you give any thought to that, and how might that play out?
We thought about that, except the reason that we kind of wanted to do the bar direction because we were trying to think of ways to like create something different. And like there's so many other just liquid soaps that it was like, yes, we could make one and maybe it would profit, but there would be no distinct factor. So we just thought that having the different shape and having like the natural, all the different components there would give us a better product in the end than going the liquid soap direction.
We also feel like, if they are kids and the parents are looking to buy liquid soap for the kids will probably want like a liquid soap with SpongeBob on it or something, and they have those, and they would probably not be looking for the exact type of thing that we're marketing in the liquid soap, but they would have bought.
Thank you.
What about comparisons to other soap bars?
Sure. I can talk about that. So, if we bring this up, the reason we actually looked at the different soap designs that there were, and when you think about your standard soap, it's typically something that'd be like this, except instead of having this curve in here, it would just be like a straight line. Like that's kind of the general shape that soaps follow. So we kind of wanted to base it off of something that people kind of already knew, while making it a little bit more natural. So we did look at the competing soaps, but we realized that a lot of the time they're a bit more bulky, and they're not as comfortable to hold, and they wear down in the same way, but there aren't as many options for holding it, because if you like take some time to hold this just feels a lot more natural than like the Dove soap, for example. When I looked at that when designing mine, it has just wide sides instead of going straight. It goes out, and that just doesn't feel natural. So we really wanted just a natural feel and something that felt more inclusive to your hand. Like a soap should work for you. You shouldn't have to work for yourself.
Did you actually make a soap using the mold?
Parts of it.
So the one big flaw in our mold that we need to work on is so we have our soap mixture, it starts to cool pretty quickly and we need to get it into the mold, but how thick it is, it's like, I don't know if you can see.
Although the heated mold actually worked, we just didn't have enough.
Yeah, so we just kind of ran, like, that's something we'd like to do, but there's like this tiny little hole to get all the soap in, and I mean, it's kind of hard to get to like film, so what we wanted to do was make a batch, reheat it, so it would kind of be more of a liquid, and then put it in and let it harden. And that's what we tried to do, but we just ran out of time before our presentation.
So our new, like the first attempted method, it's just the main problem we came into contact with actually making the soap mold itself was just that we didn't have the time, and at the time we could have made it, the blenders weren't working. So that was something that was kind of frustrating for us, because the soap mold, like, it partially worked when we had when we had some material to work with. It's just we didn't have enough material to work with when we finally found a working blender. So that's why blenders are in our cost. New blenders.
I have two questions for you. Would you say that was your biggest obstacle, was the engineering piece? And if it is,
by far.
and so a very important thing to me as an investor would be how, in facing your biggest obstacle, how did you overcome it?
I actually think heating it up worked.
Yeah.
When we heated it up to make it more viscous, it's like viscous liquid instead of solid, almost solid. It actually filled. We just didn't have enough of the quantity, because we tried to make a new batch, but it didn't work out. And so we used an old batch, and we only had like that much of it. So it filled up to maybe about there on the soap mold, and it worked. I mean, it's just not very much of it.
Next time when we have more time and working blenders, we would actually be able to use the mold. This is proof that it does work, and we would be able to use a good brand.
The other point I have for you is your visual library was excellent for me, how you said you used that to start your thinking process. But when I looked at your visual library, I couldn't quite see where you guys came, how that really developed that particular product. What out of that visual library triggered this particular product? Could you
There
put
was
that back
one
up?
picture of a little kid's toy. It was like a weight shape with the two balls on the end.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's up in the models. You can bring it back up.
Like a baby.
Oh, that was
So
good
we,
enough. Okay.
yeah, so we were looking at things like that, and just kind of playing around with different shapes. And so we wanted to make something that kids would gravitate towards, and then we looked at that and knew we could make that exact shape, so that's how we came up with the new one that we have.
Also, from the beginning, we were looking forward to making a new shape that could stand out among competitors. So when we conducted the original interviews, we were asking about what shapes would be useful and more usable, I guess, for soaps. And a lot of people said peanuts.
Yeah,
shape,
it's kind of
so-
like a peanut shape, so
Also,
it's just
the whole like world thing, the earth and the hands holding the earth and everything sort of factored into our label. I think you guys saw, but it's like this little heart earth. So it's kind of, that's another visual library thing.
The other thing about the mold is casting with UMU and 3D printing makes it very easy to change the shape if we want it to a variety of objects. Because we can use any shape that you're able to print with a 3D printer, you can cast with UMU. So if we decided that we want to make it thicker, thinner, have a variety of sizes, shapes, whatever, you can do that fairly easily.
I think time was our biggest.
Yeah.
And the reason Sam says it is like a lot of times we make these molds out of wax, and that's not easy to reproduce. This design where we have a file on a computer that we can reproduce something that's that we can continue to work on, so we can continue to improve our soap very easily.
So do you think that this would be you've got this file on your computer, could you send this to a friend that lives in Wisconsin? Have them print it off on a 3D printer, give them the instructions, and replicate the same?
Yeah, he has to have the right file on his computer, the right program to run it, but if he has that,
It's pretty,
that's
that's why
easy to
it's
set.
very easy.
But that would be a way to manage like kind of quality control of like, hey, someone else can make this exact same thing, not just the same idea. And then one of the things that you guys did was you went through and you kind of chose very specific variables that you were going to manipulate so you could figure out like what soap was going to be the best. Now you guys don't have a final product, so going back to what Sean was saying, like how as an investor do we know that we're investing in something that's good, right? Like something that, hey, you weren't able to get that final product, but is that little piece you were able to get, is that
No,
the actual thing?
that is proof that the mold works, and this soap right here is what it would look like, except in the right shape. This is the correct ratio of different fats. That's not the right scent.
But it's the correct amount.
It's the correct amount of
So what
scent.
did you find out with your what were the variables you chose to manipulate? Really, what did they tell you, and how did that kind of change your final product?
Okay, so first what we did is we changed the different amount of NaOH. It was the base, it neutralizes the fat, and we found out if we put in too much, the soap was too hard and it was kind of uncomfortable, but if too little, it was slimy and gross. So we put in the middle amount, and we found out the correct ratio.
And was that because you guys also went through and calculated how much you should have, right?
Yeah, we did.
Is that,
And that
did they agree?
They did agree.
Okay, so the calculated amount, the theoretical amount was, in practice, what it should have been.
Yes, and we also experimented with the amount of coconut oil to shea butter, and we found that soap with too much shea butter, like even with just 50-50, the shea butter made it too slimy and crumbly and kind of gross. So we decided to test, and just coconut oil was kind of nice, but it also felt that it was kind of drying out your hands, and the shea butter was more of a moisturizer. So we did 2 experiments. Then we tested the different ratio of 80 coconut to 20 shea, and also 90 coconut to 10 shea, and we found out that the 80-20 was a great ratio to use. And then we also tested the scents, and we found out that the vast majority of people preferred the cedar and saffron, which we have here. Can we pass this around?
I think that,
Okay.
Okay.
I
So
think,
we
I
did
think
the
something,
amount of scent, so we did 2 different amounts of each scent to see if it was going to be too overpowering one way or the other. We decided on using eventually like 0.5 milliliters of scent for every 100 grams of that.
And what is the did you decide on the color of the scent?
We wanted to keep it the color that it was, so this way we can keep it to our 4 ingredients, and it's all that much more natural. And we didn't think it was a bad idea.
So those are your four ingredients, but one of them you used this extract here, which is fine. Would it have been better to use a natural scent?
The extract was natural.
Well, one that let's say what is the extract?
Like cedar and saffron.
Okay. Is there a way to replicate that apart from buying a bottle of the actual extract? Can you get the extract from something? Can you get whether adding a plant or adding some kind of?
Probably could, but we have to look into that.
I'm sure we could, but I bet it would end up being more.
Do you guys know what the cedar and saffron extract is coming from?
But again, with
I
the
mean,
time constraint, I think that was I think we could have expanded our product and made it a little, taken that extra step and made our own scent, but we prioritized finding the right ratio and right scent ratio as opposed to the correct,
Okay.
I think overall, kind of what we're all trying to say, that we just had so many variables in order to get ourselves set up to make the perfect soap, that the fact that we don't have an end product right now doesn't speak to the fact that, maybe we didn't put enough time in or anything like that. We put a lot of time in to getting ourselves prepared to make the best product we could. So we could market it to you, so you could then make that into a soap that we could then sell to people. So it's really for us as a group, it was the setup to make an end product, not the end product itself.
A couple more questions, and then we'll wrap things up.
So the scent, when I smelled it, and it's a mouthfeel smelled it, it kind of smelled really strong. Like how much
Oh,
you
because
get?
Well, that's good.
So that's because it's concentrated in the bottle, we're putting
I
other.
was wondering how much you
That's why we
actually
only
put
put
in.
like half a milliliter in 100 grams, so, or 100 milliliters.
Okay.
Is there any scent in that bar you have over there?
Yeah.
No.
That
is
not
the wrong
scent.
This has the right amount of the wrong scents. This one's like
And
lavender.
So it's
also
the right
for-
concentration, so you can see how strong
For
it would be.
point,
That's
0.5 milliliters in 100 grams, this bar soap is about 150 grams, or 150 milliliters of material. So, 0.5 milliliters and 150 milliliters.
John?
So I saw that on your package that the paper doesn't completely cover it, like there's opening on both sides. What was your plan there?
Well, some of our unique shapes, we wanted to put it just like that, and if we had it completely covered, you kind of just would think of it as another bar. So if we have, by having it open, you get to see it, and that's our main selling point, so.
Is there like plastic there, or is it like completely
No,
open?
we didn't think that would be a problem because we're looking at other bars of soap on the market. A lot of them have a similar packaging idea, so we just assumed that would be pretty safe.
Also, since we would put it sideways, there would be the top covering the soap, so it would not collect dust again.
But it wouldn't, because it wouldn't be on the shelf very long.
I feel like your scent is pretty unique, and you could probably play that up in your packaging a little bit more. That's very nice.
So you guys as a whole, I think that there were a few things that held you guys back. One of them was not being able to have, like, you've got the right soap with the wrong scent, you have the right ratios.
There's all
and
the
there's-
pieces, but not together.
Right. And I understand that we ran out of time on that. And, that was one piece, and one of the things that kind of held us, I thought one of the pieces holding us back was kind of getting the mold prep and ready. But once we had the mold, you guys didn't have the soap that could get it in there. And
We did have the soap, and we had it all already made, so the little piece that we had is the correct stuff. We just couldn't, that's why we basically.
But that's the correct scent and color and everything?
It's the correct scent and color, but it's not blended, so.
Because
it's sort
what
of-
happened was we were trying to get it into the mold, and we thought it was
Also, one of the
completely like
blenders-
good, and then when we opened it up, we realized that we didn't, like, it didn't fill correctly, so we had to, that's how we adjusted to, okay, we're gonna make our batch, reheat it, get it in the mold, and then it will.
Also, the ratio's a little off because the blender,
That's a
leaked.
blender
Yeah, we had two
malfunction.
blender malfunctions, so
Right.
we put
One
it
of
in
them-
one and it just like decided not to work, and then we put it in each, so I just sort of like shook it a little bit, and then we
prevent it
put it in
from
the second one, and the second one worked for about a minute and then started smoking, so
That's
it wasn't
Right.
fully blended, and also.
why it's
So
some
you guys are killing blenders left
The
and
reason
right.
So
that
that's the
Yes.
brownish color.
Okay,
Yeah, so this is not, this is like tech, we had a lot of issues that day with just like equipment, so,
So that's
This
technically
isn't
all the right
actually what's
stuff,
good.
but
And
the.
The appearance of the-
yeah.
that's fine, this is just kind of my like general assessment.
Yeah.
That you guys were you were held back on a couple things. And then, a few things that you guys did very well on, you guys were very organized in kind of distributing workload and making sure that everybody knew what was going on in the lab, and when you guys actually, you guys are, you're pretty confident in looking at your paper, it's like, okay, you actually know what your recipe should be and why. And, that's great, you can justify that part, you still have to implement it at some point. Some of the things that I really like were definitely I like the kind of the name, the simplicity of it, the purpose of it, kind of the 4 being like 4 families, 4 ingredients, kind of that kind of thing. To say that you can even tell Dr. Bronner's that they use too many ingredients is that's pretty significant. One of the things that you also may have benefited from would be projecting a little bit further into the future, kind of what your process is for starting up, a little more specifically. I think that you guys broke down your costs at the beginning, and you guys kept things very manageable, like your fixed costs are really low. Like, this is something that you guys could legitimately do this summer if you wanted. you guys could go sell this stuff. But at some point, you have to think like, okay, is it worth it to just be making small amounts of money, or if you've got a group of 7 people and you actually want to make a reasonable amount of money, how do you increase the production rate? Adults, is there anything else you guys would like to add, overall assessments or comments?
I think I like the idea that you had that 3D mold and you could change it, like if, like the smell right now is unisex, and we decided that that was a great smell for families because men and women and boys and girls and babies, boy or girl could use it. And then the mold thing is that they could change it if they wanted to make it cutesy and make it into a bow, so it could still be like a bow. They could change that in a day, or
Definitely.
and start producing if they wanted to make it for female or gender specific, or thought that was cute.
Yeah.
I like the packaging and the fact that it was rectangular would have caught my eye if I was shopping compared to the other soaps.
Just want to feedback on the packaging. I think when you go to real market, you need to use a thicker carton stock for the sleeve and the box and stuff, just for the box.
Well, thank you guys. The rest of you are on Friday.